Hey there, Patriots. Welcome back to the front lines. It's Death Watch here to give you guys more intel so you can update your personal armory and fight back against the fake news media machine. And today we'll be discussing the issues surrounding the Parents' Bill of Rights and why it is so important for conservatives to push this and why exactly this is now their new agenda. Because conservatives are overtly saying that parents should have more governance over the public education system because the public education system is no longer a facility for young minds to go to be essentially given the tools, given the knowledge that they need to then go off to college and pursue a career, okay, or a trade if they decide not to go to college, or to become their own entrepreneurs, right? This is what schools are meant to be, to essentially give the new generation of Americans the abilities, the know how, the knowledge, the tools to go out and become successful in their lives. Instead, what we are now seeing is that overt political operatives, overt political ideologues infiltrating these different systems and trying to indoctrinate young, impressionable minds on how to instead become insurgents for their political ideology, right? And this is why conservatives overtly are trying to pass the Parents' Bill of Rights, because they are saying here that you, as a school teacher, are essentially agents of the federal government, right? Your salaries, schools are funded by taxpayer dollars. Teachers are paid from the taxpayer, the taxpayer money that they steal from us, right? Essentially, that's what taxation is, right? People, libertarians say taxation is death, right? That money is used to pay for schools. That money is used to pay teachers' salaries. Therefore, they are employees of the federal state, okay? And as parents, you are private citizens and should have a say so, a governance on what the public education should be teaching your children. Because again, over the years, we are seeing how political operatives are infiltrating these schools and trying to indoctrinate students. So, what does the bill introduce, right? Well, it requires schools to notify parents that they have the right to review the curriculum in school budget, inspect books and other library materials, and receive information about any violent activity in schools. We're going to be discussing and showing examples of each in every single one of these hot topic issues, right? Because this is exactly what has been going on that has forced conservatives to take a different approach on the public education system and to push this law in the first place. Because we have seen how many K through 12 educators were arrested for sex related crimes in these schools, right? Over, like, I think they said nearly 350 public educators from grades kindergarten through high school were arrested on sex related crimes involving children. Okay, 300 teachers, 26 substitute teachers, and 25 teacher aides, right? This is why we say these people are predators. They're groomers, right? It has nothing to do with their sexuality, nothing to do with their ideology. It's simply what they are doing, what they are engaging in. Okay, we have seen how we covered this article before, how again political operatives are overtly trying to teach kids certain political ideology and telling them, instructing them to not engage with their parents about what exactly these people are teaching them. And we have the headline here. The trans school conspiracy exposed. Midwest teachers trade tips on subversively and quietly transitioning kids without telling their parents, and skirting Republican gender laws in workshops funded by the federal government. Okay, so federal employees, right? Because these people's salaries are paid for by the taxpayer dollars. Okay, these school budgets are paid for by the taxpayer dollars. And these individuals, these ideologues, are pretending that they are just doing workshops in order to, help other teachers, right? We're all just a bunch of teachers trying to make a workshop so we can all, communicate together in order to figure out ways to effectively teach children and implement new policies or whatever, right? But what they're actually doing is discussing amongst themselves, conspiring on how to infiltrate and to teach kids, minors, this very far-fetched political ideology of different genders and gender fluidity, non-binary, and all this other craziness that majority of people in the United States do not agree with, in openly teaching kids this type of material, and then telling these kids, instructing these kids to not tell their parents. That is evil. These people are doing this with the overt, most malicious intent. So we're going to be discussing first about the whole book situation, right? Where leftists are overtly just lying, saying that conservatives are trying to ban books because these books just happen to discuss LGBTQ material. No, they are not. They are not just discussing LGBTQ material. They are overtly pornographic in material. And in some of these books, where you can go on Twitter and look at these books overtly, right? You can look at the books, you can look at the material within these books. Conservatives have been posting this type of crap all over social media, showing you exactly what these books contain, where these are in some cases overtly instructions on how to engage in very dodgy, very promiscuous lifestyles, right? Openly telling people, instructing people on how to masturbate, how to engage in that type of material, how to make profiles on gay dating apps. Okay, conservatives overtly show you what exactly are in these books, what exactly they are, why they are against this type of material. Okay, they go to school board meetings and read verbatim from these books exactly what they have an issue with. Leftists overtly lie about why conservatives are upset with this. They just say conservatives hate gay people, therefore they're trying to ban these books. No, that's not what's happening. They are lying. They're just straight up lying because they are evil. There's no middle ground with this crap. It is, these books are not suitable for minors to be reading. Simple as that. Remove them from these school libraries, right? They're accessible outside at Books a Million, Barnes and Noble, at college educated, college libraries. They're accessible anywhere else. They're just not suitable for school libraries for minors, right? As simple as that. Okay, so this article here from the Post Millennial. On Tuesday, the Senate Judiciary Committee held a hearing titled How Censorship Limits Liberty in Literature. Among those in attendance were officials from Illinois who recently passed a law prohibiting parents from being able to remove pornographic books from their children's schools. A number of prominent Republicans used their time to read from such books in an attempt to convince lawmakers that some content is in fact inappropriate for certain age groups, right? So Senator Kennedy reads off, material from children's books, Genderqueer and All Boys Aren't Blue. I don't know why this. Trying to click off it is just scrolling. I don't know why it's scrolling right there. But right, these are the books right here that he reads from. All Boys Aren't Blue and Genderqueer, right? Two very clear-cut examples of why these books should not be included in school libraries marketed towards minors. Okay, they are very dicey in the material, right? So I'm not going to play the actual clip here. I'm just going to read exactly what from the text here. You guys can definitely look this up yourselves, right? Because it's wild. It's some wild, crazy crap, right? This is a 3-minute clip. I'm going to try to shorten it down a little bit, right? So, quote, let's take two books that have been much discussed, Louisiana Senator John Kennedy said, holding up passages from Genderqueer and All Boys Aren't Blue, right? He says, I put some lube on and got him on his knees, and I began to slide into him from behind. Kennedy said, quoting from the later text, I pulled out of him and kissed him while we touched each other. Okay, or touched ourselves, right? He asked me to turn over while he slipped on a condom on himself. This was my butt. Kennedy continued, still quoting, and I was struggling to imagine someone inside. He got on top and slowly inserted himself into me. It was the worst pain I think I've ever felt in my life. Eventually, I felt a mix of pleasure with pain. Kennedy switched over to genderqueer, reading a sexually explicit passage about using a strap-on dildo. I am going to give you the blowjob of your life, right? Then I want you inside of me, he quoted, entering those words into a congressional record. Quote, after you suggesting that our librarians should decide whether these two books I just referenced should be available to kids, Kennedy asked Illinois Secretary of State Alexei, I don't know how to pronounce that last name. With all due respect, Senator, the words you spoke are disturbing, especially coming out of your mouth, he replied. You claimed that he and others were not advocating for such content to be read by children. Rather, they wanted to prevent random parents from having the ability, under the guise of keeping kids safe, to challenge the inclusion of such material in libraries and curriculum, right?
Is placing common sense age restrictions on pornographic content or removing sexually explicit books from school curriculum and school libraries, is that book banning? And does that carry any ramifications for what we would talk about in terms of book banning in the First Amendment sense?
No, sir.
It does not. And why is that?
It's a question of community curation, and no student is actually blocked from acquiring the book in a broader sense.
So if you're providing content to a child, that if spoken to a child by you, by the school, if that would constitute, in some jurisdictions, in some circumstances, a crime or a tort, you've got a problem. These school districts are acting in response to legitimate parental concerns. They should be removing these. Shame on them if they don't, and shame on those who want to groom children sexually.
Right. And so you clearly see when these individuals come out to these school board meetings, right? Parents come out to these school board meetings reading verbatim these types of books. What is in these books? They are getting kicked out, as this pastor here, right? A black pastor slams North Carolina school board over, pornographic library book, right? He goes on and he reads verbatim exactly what he had a problem with, right? Leftists overtly say these people are just, far right extremists who engaged in the January 6th fiasco, who are now targeting school board committee members and teachers, right? Overtly lying. If you had any good faith argument, you would look at exactly what exactly these conservatives, these people who are against these types of materials, are referencing. Because when you look at the posts made by conservatives on Twitter, on Facebook, on social media, you see exactly the type of things they are saying this should not be allowed to be for children to have access to. These people go to the school boards and they read verbatim exactly what they have an issue with, and they're being kicked out because these school board committee members are saying, hey, you're not allowed to read that in this type of environment. That is considered lewd. That's considered lewd material. That's considered inappropriate in this type of environment. And people are overtly saying, well, if it's too much for us as adults to sit here in a room full of, in a room without any children to read this to each other, and you are saying this is inappropriate for this type of environment, what makes you think that it is 100% okay for kids to have access to and be mandated in some instances to be to read this type of material in a school environment, right? Leftists are overtly bad faith, and they're doing all of this with malicious intent. And I'm using this in the sense of the legal malicious intent, right? For those of you who don't know, when it comes to libel and slander under the First Amendment, right, why you're able to sue for that, what they consider to be malicious intent under the law is that the total disregard of the truth, okay? Is not only that you are saying this with the knowledge that you are lying, but you also are repeating or pushing this type of rhetoric, knowing full well that you did not do any research into whether or not what you are regurgitating is true or not. Okay? That's what leftists are doing. I think that leftists 100% know exactly what these books are saying. they don't care and they want to push it onto kids no matter what. Okay? Because every time I see a leftist news outlet cover these types of books, they just show the cover. They just show the cover and say these are LGBTQ books, and conservatives are trying to ban this because it discusses LGBTQ topics. Because conservatives are, isms and phobics, and that's why they don't like these books. But when you see conservatives actually talk about these books, actually show you the pages that they're referencing, they show you exactly what material is in these books, and anybody with a brain, anybody with good faith will sit here and say that no, these books are not appropriate for minors to be reading. Okay? It's simple as that. These leftists are overtly lying, and they're doing this, they're pushing this with malicious intent. They are openly saying that conservatives are lying about the material. They are just against people who are part of the LGBTQ community, and that is an overt lie. They are showing you guys the covers of these books, but they're not going into and telling you exactly what is inside those books. Because again, when conservatives talk about this, when parents go to these school board meetings, they read verbatim. They show exactly the images within these books that they have a problem with. And leftists omit all that information and just continue to push lie after lie after lie. And there is no doubt in my mind that this is it is pure cut malicious intent, the total disregard for the truth. It's as simple as that. And so this is why I say conservatives need to push this parent bill of rights, and it is 100% should be, parents should have 100% governance over exactly what school what the public education system is teaching their kids. They should have a right to know exactly what is in the school's curriculum. They should have a full knowledge of how what the school budget is going towards, what the money, right, that again is paid for by the taxpayers. They should have full knowledge of exactly what their money is being used for, who these schools are hiring, what these school teachers are teaching their children, and what material is being presented in their school library. And at any point, if these parents have a problem with it, they should be able to come to these schools, grab the books, show exactly what they have a problem with, and then it should be up to vote whether or not they want to remove these books or not, whether or not they want these type of classes or curriculums, right, whether or not these schools should focus more on science, technology, engineering, or math, and things like that. They should, because it's their taxpayer dollars that are going towards paying the salaries of these school board committees, paying for these school board members, paying for these teachers, these substitute teachers, and these teachers' aides, right? They should have full knowledge, full governance on what exactly these public education systems are doing with their money and what they're teaching to their children. There is absolutely no argument against why that is a bad thing. Anybody who has any real any real argument against that, you are just you're a low IQ NPC. That's what you are. You're an NPC. There's no real argument against that, right? Because this is a pure libertarian approach, middle of the road libertarian. The private citizen should have a say so what the federal government is teaching or doing with their money directed towards their children. It's pure middle of the road, pure libertarian. Okay, there's no left wing bullcrap to this. There's no right wing bullcrap to this. It's just unfortunately conservatives are the ones on board with this libertarian approach to managing the public education system. And leftists who are overtly disagreeing with this, overtly lying about the implication of what exactly Republicans are trying to do, are just doing it with the utmost malicious intent. Again, that means the complete and total disregard for the truth. And the only thing that leads me to sit here and say is that if they're overtly just lying about what exactly conservatives are trying to push, what exactly conservatives have a problem with when it comes to these books, when it comes to the type of teachers that they're feuding against, well, then I only have the only thing left that I have to say is that progressives, these leftists, these Democrats are overtly on board. They are engaging in this type of content. They are doing this with malicious intent. They want to push this type of divisive, purely ideological bullcrap into schools to try to teach young people and try to encourage them to not tell their parents about it. You are doing this on purpose. There is no, oh, well, we didn't know. We were just told this one thing. We didn't really look into it. And so we thought we were doing the right thing. No, sorry. There's no excuse. There's no longer an excuse for that. The knowledge is out there. The passages from these books are out there. Conservatives have been talking about this for years now, showing exactly what they have a problem with. And this whole well we didn't know issue is sorry, it's too late. You had plenty of time to realize and research exactly what conservatives were talking about, what they were trying to do away with, and why they had a problem with it in the first place. Now you guys are purely just doing it for the what I only can assume is that you're doing it with malicious intent. You know exactly what you guys are trying to push in these schools, and you're trying to lie in. You're just lying about what you're doing because you want this. You want people to be able to go into these schools and indoctrinate young children in order to make them turn them into political insurgents for your political cause. That's the only thing I'm left to believe because there's absolutely no reason why you should not know about any of this, any of these arguments that conservatives are doing. They're going to the school board committees themselves and discussing exactly what their issues are. They're showing you examples of why they believe these books should be removed from school libraries, but instead leftist news organizations, leftist progressives, activists are just overtly lying, saying conservatives are isms and phobics. They just hate these books because these books discuss LGBTQ material. Overt lie, malicious intent, the absolute disregard for the truth. Okay, and with all that being said, this is not, this is not out of hatred for anybody. This is just pure simple. These people are engaging in absolute evil, bad faith, and we need to call it out because our country cannot exist, cannot continue to exist with these types of individuals who are overtly just trying to do evil, evil in our country. Right. So this has nothing to do against anybody for any because of their sexuality. It has nothing to do with people because of their, whatever marginalized status or whatever you want to call it. No, it's just simple, pure cut. This is material being pushed in schools by political insurgents who are just overtly lying about what they're trying to do and trying to sell pure bullcrap. Okay, and we should be allowed to call these people out. And if these people don't want to engage in actual discourse and they're instead trying to worm their way through and trying to lie, cheat, and steal in order to gain power in our system, well, these people need to be called out immediately and brought to the spotlight, and whatever things they're doing should be brought to the forefront and shown to everybody exactly what they're doing, what they're lying about, and how they are trying to infiltrate different systems using these tactics, right? So, like always, stay safe, stay sane, be vigilant, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you, Patriots, on the battlefield.